Welcome to Keypoint 800. In this video, I will be showing you how a 3-time perfect score on the SAT Math section and future MIT student takes the Math No Calculator section on the first official SAT practice test. Before watching this video, it is expected that you have taken the SAT practice test once so that you can compare your method of solving problems with mine. You can access the practice test by Googling SAT Practice Test 1 or by buying the official SAT practice book, which is what I did. Also, this video is intended for students with solid math fundamentals. This means that you should have a strong understanding of algebra and geometry and are scoring in the 700 range on either your PSAT or SAT. In the future, I will make videos for those with weaker fundamentals. If you have weaker fundamentals, the best way to study for the SAT is to solve so many algebra and geometry problems that you know how to solve basic problems by heart. It is also recommended that you are taking or have taken pre-calculus, as this is the highest form of math on the SAT. In fact, I earned a perfect SAT math score at the end of 10th grade, which was when I just finished pre-calc. So let's talk about the Math No Calculator section. The time limit is 25 minutes. Ideally, you should be able to finish all of the problems in 20 minutes. On the easiest test, I can solve every problem in about 15 minutes. There are 20 questions that you should do in 20 minutes. However, this doesn't mean that each question gets a minute. The easiest questions should take 10 to 20 seconds, and the hardest questions may take 2 minutes. Although you should work fast to have enough time to check your answers, it's also important that you do not make careless mistakes on the easy problems at the beginning. Every question is weighted the same, so you should be getting all of the easy problems correct before solving the hardest problems. So let's get started. Number 1 says, if x minus 1 over 3 equals k and k equals 3, what is the value of x? So you substitute in k, 3 for k, solve for x, you get 10. You should be able to do that in your head if you want to get a really high score. For I equals square root of negative 1, what is the sum of 7 plus 3i minus 8 plus 9i? This is extra info. Just treat this as though it's just an x. So while solving the problems, we're going to eliminate answers. So 7 minus 8 equals negative 1, so eliminate these two. And then 3i plus 9i is 12i. So eliminate that. Answer is A. On Saturday afternoon, our man sent M text messages each hour for 5 hours, and Tyrone sent P text messages each hour for 4 hours. Which of the following represents the total number of messages sent by Amanda and Tyrone on Saturday afternoon? So, if you send a certain number of text messages per hour for 5 hours, that's simply 5M. And same logic, plus 4p. Answer is C. Number 4. Kathy is a repair technician for a phone company. Each week she receives a batch of phones that need repairs. The number of phones that she has left to fix at the end of the day can be estimated with the equation P equals 108 minus 23D, where P is the number of phones left and D is the number of days she has worked that week. What is the meaning of 108 in this equation? So this equation here is in the form y equals mx plus b, and 108 is the b value, and the b value is the constant, which is like the starting point on the graph. So that means that it's a starting point, and this says start in it, so it's B. So number 5 is just combining like terms. So eliminate answers while you go. So x squared y minus x squared y is minus makes a plus. So it's 2x squared y. So eliminate these two answers, don't have that term. And then next we have this negative 3y squared, and they changed up the order is here. So negative 3 minus 3 is negative 3 plus 3, and that's 0y squared. so that's eliminate, and this y squared term exists here, and that's not the right one, so that's eliminated, and the answer is C. Number 6 says h equals 3a plus 28.6. A pediatrician uses the model above to estimate the height h of a boy in inches in terms of the boy's age a in years between the ages of 2 and 5. Based on the model, what is the estimated increase in inches of a boy's height each year? So this is a y equals mx plus b problem. So b is, like I said before, the starting point. So that means this is the rate, this is how much it increases by or decreases by. And this is what is the estimated increase per year. And x here will be years. So m is the increase. And so this is m, so it's 3. Number 7, the formula, this is extraneous info. So which of the following gives p in terms of the other terms? So we would treat these as a single term, since so to isolate p, we would multiply by the reciprocal to cancel them out, and when you multiply by reciprocal on both sides, you get the same thing but flipped, and it's on this side. So it can't be the same. This term, this whole thing is the same as this, so it's not that. It has to be flipped. It's not this. It's this because when you multiply the reciprocal, it flips, and this was the denominator before. Now it's the numerator, and the same thing applies to the previous numerator. If a over b equals 2, what is the value of 4b over a? So you would solve for one of the variables here. So I'm going to solve for a, since you just need to multiply by b. A equals 2b, and you take that, you substitute it into here. So 4b over 2 b equals 2. That's your answer. Solve the system's equation above. Looking at this, the y terms here are the same, so I want to solve for the x, and so it will save time. So to solve for the x, we should eliminate the y. So to eliminate y, you multiply this equation by -2, and rewriting the equation times -2 positive 2 minus 4y equals 38. You add the equations together to eliminate that. 5x is equal to 15. Get x is equal to 3. And the answer is B, which is the only one with the x value of 3. For number 10, g of x equals ax squared plus 24. What is the value of g negative 4? So you know your quadratics, you know that this means that there's no horizontal shift. So this is just something like this. So that means it's symmetrical across the y-axis. So that means that if g4 is 8 and g negative 4 is the same thing, because it's the same distance from the y-axis. So it's also 8. In the equation above, B and C represents the price per pound in dollars of beef and chicken. Effectively, X weeks after July 1st during the last summer, what was the price per pound of beef when it was equal to the price per pound of chicken? So first we should solve how many weeks it takes for the prices to be equal. You can simply do that by setting the equations equal to each other, as like so. Next we solve for x. So doing that, you get subtract x on this side, so the x term can, coefficient of x can stay positive. You subtract this from this, and you get 0.6, and dividing by 0.5 you get x equals 4. So now we can this is how many weeks, but we want the price. So just plug it into one of the equations above here, and it looks like 0.25 is 1/4, which cancels out nicely. So we'll use the equation for b. 0.25 is 1/4. So you plug in x, this cancels, this becomes 1 plus 2.35. 1 plus 2.35 is 3.35. Okay, so the next one is passes through the origin and has slope 1/7. So this is a simple rise over run problem, slope problem equals y/x. This works because it passes through the origin, so the b term is 0. So if you write mx plus 0, it's just y equals mx, and m is just equal to y/x when you solve it. So we'll do y/x and make sure the term the slope is 1/7. This passes through the origin, so it can't be 0,7. 7 divided by 1 is 7, so that's slope is 7. That's wrong. 7 divided by 7 is 1, which is wrong. And 2 divided by 14 is 1/7, which is right, so it's D. So which of the following is equivalent? So we want it to be more simplified. So what we should do is add these terms together so that we have a single fraction, and we can just flip the fraction at the end since it's is 1 over that thing. Okay, so we want common denominators, so we multiply the other thing to get a common denominator, like so. So now with common denominators, we can add it together in the bottom here. So adding is pretty simple. Now we simplify. So it's 1 over 2x plus 5 over, and then distribute that, get x squared plus 5x plus 6. Now we just flip it, becomes this one. Flip this equation, since it's 1 over that expression. Number 14, if 3x, number 14, if 3x minus y equals 12, what is the value of 8 to the x over 2 to the y? So for this problem, I would simplify, I would write 8 to the power of x in simpler terms. So 8 to the x is also, 8 can be written as 2 to the power of 3, and then write that x, and then 2y, this can be written as so. And if you recall from algebra, if you have the same base and they're dividing each other, then it's simply the difference. So in the end, it can be written like this. So, and we know that 3x minus y equals 12, so just substitute this into here, and you get 2 to the power of 12. So it's A. Number 15. If ax plus 2 times bx plus 7 equals 15x squared plus cx plus 14 for all values of x, and a plus b equals 8, what are the two possible values of c? So first we know that a plus b equals 8. We should find another expression for a and b so that we can later solve for c. So when you distribute these two, ax times bx is equal to this term. So we can say that ab is equal to 15. Now we substitute the equations. So b can be rewritten as 8 minus a. So when you substitute it in to the first equation here, you can say 8 minus a equals 15. When you distribute, get minus 15. I move this over so you can solve a quadratic. Multiply everything by -1, so it's easier to solve. Factor, so we get a minus 5, a minus 3 equals 0. So we have a, b is equal to 5, 3. They're interchangeable. So when we find the positive values, we substitute into either one. So the one possibility is having a is equal to 5 and b is equal to 3. And the other possible way is having it the opposite direction. So to get the c term here, we're basically multiplying a constant by the x, the term of the x. So it would be like 5x times 7x, or not, 5x times 7 and 2 times 3x. So when you multiply 5x plus 7x, 5x and 7, you get 35, and then you add it to 2 times 3 is 6, you get 41. And the only one that works is D, which has 41 in it. But let's make sure by checking the second expression. So 3 times 7 is 21, and 2 times 5 is 10 equals 31. And it works there, so we're good to go. Next problem, number 16. This is a grid problem. So there's no multiple choice, so there's no process of elimination. So this question is pretty simple. You just move forward to the other side, take the square root. T equals plus minus 2. Ignore the second line. T equals plus minus 2, but T is over 7, so T is equal to 2. Just bubble in 2. Number 17, a counselor wants to find length x. He gives us the side lengths of these, so we should label the picture. So AB is 1800. EB is at 1400. BD is 700, and CD is 800. So we know that these angles are congruent because they're vertical angles, and that by angle similarity theorem, these two triangles AEB and BDC are similar. So we can use corresponding parts and proportions to solve for this solve for x. So we see that this angle and this corresponds x to 800, since these two are the same. So x corresponds to 800. We can write it like that. It's equal to see that these also correspond because these angle and this angle are congruent and they're opposite. The sides are opposite. So 1400 over 700. 8 over 800 equals 2. Multiply 800, get x equals 1600. Number 18, should solve for x. So if you want to solve for x, we should eliminate y to save us some work. So you can eliminate y by multiplying this by -2, and you get negative 2x minus 2y equals 18, and x plus 2y equals negative 25. Then you add them together, get negative 7 equals negative x. So x equals 7. That's the x value. Just bubble it in. And a right triangle, so it tells me it's the right triangle. One angle measures x degrees, and where sine of x degrees equals 4 over 5. What is cosine of 90 minus x? So when they give you some kind of figure or angle, I recommend drawing the figure out. So I drew it here. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse, so that's how it looks. And what is a cosine of 90 minus x? Well, this is a right triangle, and we know that the sum of the angles in a triangle equals 180 degrees. So that means that minus 90, we already know. So to get this angle here is 180 minus 90 minus x degrees. So that simplifies to 90 minus x degrees. So this corresponds to 90 minus x degrees. And so that means that the cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. It's the same thing. Finally, number 20, if a equals 5 square root of 2 and 2a equals 2 square root of 2x, what is value x? This is simple substitution problem. So plug in this into here, get 2 times 5 square root of 2 is equal to square root of 2x. Now we can distribute here. From here we can divide by square root of 2. So you get, now we just square it to get x. So x equals 100. That's basically it for the math no calculator section of the first official SAT practice test. And yeah, the next video will be on the calculator section.